So I'd actually like to open up for the last question and answer session. So you can ask a question of any of the speakers. Actually, we lost Rob at Ben & Jerry's, and I know there were some people waiting to ask him questions, so I'm sorry. But I also want to offer the opportunity for people to ask questions of the crowd. So we did invite speakers to come who have expertise, but to be honest, so many people in this room have so much expertise that they can share with this room. And so I'm just going to walk the mic around, and if anyone wants to pose a question to the group or to a speaker that we've seen over the last couple of days, I know you had time to think and maybe come up with some new questions as well. All right.
Andy, I had a question for you. With any of the businesses that you've worked with in the past, have you seen any correlation between that company's external marketing efforts to tell the customer about their sustainability and them in turn using those to work with suppliers to say, this is what we're doing now? Like, is there any kind of relationship between the campaigns where they can have a unified marketing department that's speaking to both upstream and downstream of the product?
Great question, and I would say that's where some of the ones that are doing it best, like Innocent and Seventh Generation, are at. But I don't think there's a lot of people doing it there yet. And I think like when we do these workshops, we really try to encourage whoever's coming from supply or procurement or sustainability team to bring along someone from that's indirectly related to the supply chain, right? So bring along a colleague. We love it when they bring someone from marketing along, right? And they are oftentimes big advocates of this, but they don't know how to build it into their marketing campaigns yet. And I think you can think about it as that's where the stories come from, the content machine, the engine. And if you can show them, then they will figure out how to put it in. So I don't have too many, besides these, not too many strong examples right now. If I think of some, I'll be happy to share them. But I think it's not a whole lot of people doing that part very well yet.
I have a question for the audience. Anybody who wants to weigh in. It has to do with this conference. And I want to frame it in the terms of scale, impact, and urgency. We're just 3 years in. This year we have 117 members here today. Our organization has been around for 6 years. Caitlin's been doing a superb job of keeping it financially healthy, well run. And I'm just thinking about how do we scale up our efforts that we're putting forth here? Do we want to have a bigger conference to have more scale? We're kind of billing it now as an intimate gathering where you can have more one-on-one relationships. And then the urgency piece, 2 weeks ago today was the Youth Climate March, climate strike. And over at CU, there was about 3 or 4 people carrying signs that said, your generation is gonna die of old age. Our generation is gonna die of climate change. So when you think about it in those terms, I'm just wondering how the urgency and the impact and the scale of this conference falls into play here.
All right, I'm going to pose that as a would you rather question. So the two options are stay small and intimate so that we can have the kinds of conversations that we're having today and build these relationships, or grow big with this conference and try to bring this content to as many people as possible. Okay, so option 1, stay small and intimate. Really, nobody? All right, option 2, get big and spread the movement. All right, noted. Other
We've got a
questions?
strong vote at this table for an option 3.
Please,
Do both.
both. Make an avenue where we can be big and an avenue where we can be small. How do you do that? Chris wants to know how you do that. Anyone have some ideas?
I was last month at the B Corp conference in LA, and that conference has grown to be, well over 600 people per year. And this year they built in some really interesting intentional networking time where they had facilitated or structured groups of 4 conversations. So they kind of force you into intimate groups to have these deep conversations on a one-on-one or 4 person level, and also had the larger content, but built a balance of both throughout the whole conference. And it did feel very balanced.
I have another example from my industry. Thank you. Another example from my industry is there's a kind of a by invitation only. 50 to 100 people. That is that small annual gathering, almost like just a big group think there. And then you have the bigger event. So it's something that we do a bit over in CPG land.
I pick someone else to pick the people.
Maybe draw names out of a hat.
Delegation.
I was just thinking, something to Stuart's point about, yesterday talking about making some people make a small choice versus everybody, 50% of people need to go vegan like tomorrow, and how much easier it is to make that small choice. I mean, if you're talking about making an impact, you got to have everybody. But I think in a practical sense, having a point where, these breakout sessions that we did yesterday, if those could be separate rooms or you sign up for it ahead of time, you can have smaller portions of this thing happen while you're doing the larger group things beyond that.
All right, thank you. Got it.
Colette.
Sorry, I'd like to take off on that. I think I'd love to see too where there could be like retailer tracks. Taking off that note is there could be different tracks. There could be potentially retailer tracks. I mean, I don't really get the opportunity to talk to PetSmart very often, but we had some good conversations over the last 24 hours. And there could be retailer tracks or even supply products and food. There's some very different challenges. Globally sourced is very different than domestically sourced, the challenges we face, where we could go even a little bit level deeper in some of these topics. So I think there's a way to do it.
Thank you. This is like the feedback session of my dreams.
I'd like to point out we're also going to do a feedback survey. So if you don't get a chance to talk, we still want to know what you think.
I like, I like having 3 options also. I like, do it all. Why not? We have the organization and the talent and the commitment. So these are the sorts of things that we can do. When you started this, Chris, I don't think you saw this as it is today. I think you're pleasantly surprised at. There you go. There you go. Good point. And so we have capacity and ability and commitment in the room. We had interviews that Sarah conducted. My point was when asked what do I want from PSC, and I want it to take the place in the industry it deserves and that the industry needs. And purpose-driven organizations in this industry and other industries are not new. Years ago, the American pet manufacturing needed advocacy and collaboration and insight, and APPA was born. APPMA, I think it was. And the retailers needed support and organization collaboration, and WPA was born. Well, this organization serves everyone in the industry, and it transcends the industry. It serves everyone literally in the world, even if it's little bites of the apple. And so I'd like everyone to really challenge themselves to think really big in the right way. And thinking really big is risky. It can lead to failure. But I think when we take a look at the talent in this room, again, and the commitment in this room, we have the ability to structure progress and process really, really well. So all of that comes back to, I like that third option from table number 2, because I think we can go large and big and at scale, and we can keep the intimacy through good structure and good process. And just by who is in this room today, compared to the growth we've had today, compared to the growth last year and the year before. We're hockey sticking here. And, you know, that's a great thing to have in your corner. And with it comes great risk. But again, I think we have the foundational ability in your leadership and the commitment in this room to go both directions. We can go big and take the space that we need to in the industry to do really good things at a very big scale. Get this word out. I love what Kashi's coming up with. Already, Kashi is the dancing person at the edge of the concert. That's what Kashi did today. And now everybody's going to go over there and say, I want to do that dance. And pretty soon, no one's going to remember it was Kashi in this room that got everyone excited. And that isn't the point. The point is everyone got excited. Everyone joined the dance. And I'm going to figure out how we're going to join that dance. And so what's happening here is foundational and meaningful. And I think we can continue to have this intimacy where there's so much collaboration and sharing ideas. And we can get to scale where we're really touching the entire industry like we need to very quickly because we have 60 turns, we have 2 degrees, we have 5 oceans, we have no krill, we have a lot of deep, deep issues that the people in this room have the ability to educate and inspire others about to take care of. Is that good for you? There's a lot more weight on you, Caitlin.
Thank you. So we are going to go ahead and wrap up. And I think I'm going to talk too, of course, because that's my thing. But I'm also going to, I mentioned last night when I named my Earth Heroes. Oh. One question. Yes.
There's a lot of really good packaging supplier companies here. Hopefully I don't miss anybody when I name them off, but Layfield, Peel Plastics, Emerson, Excel, Takagawa. I think we're here because this is important to us, and we're leaders, trying to be leaders in this industry. So a lot of great competitors. My question, since we have a lot of the brand owners here, where do you really want us focusing our time and our R&D money on?
On the infrastructure it takes to make it work. Because if we can deliver in this world a gallon of gas at $3.20 throughout the nation after digging it out of the ground, it's because of infrastructure. And it's the same with electric cars. It's working because there's infrastructure. All of this, all the scale comes from an investment in infrastructure. And yeah, we do need our government to help us out on this. We need to get smarter people in our government because right now, that's going the wrong way. And industry has a disproportionate ability to affect our leadership. And we need to talk to USDA, and we need to get over to Washington, D.C. and talk about farm subsidies and where are they going and what are they doing. How about taking some of those billions of dollars and converting it into organic farmers instead of just saying, don't plant this, or keep your tractors idle, or go monolithic. Infrastructure, and infrastructure is long-term and it's expensive, and it takes taxes, and it takes collaboration, and it takes a vision. So I would love to see the infrastructure so that our sustainable product, Carefresh small animal bedding, is not drugged down by our need to have plastic packaging. I think we need to have an ability to turn our plastic packaging somehow into a good. And that may not be by getting rid of plastic packaging, it might be doing a lot of the ideas that were presented in this conference, alternative ideas to doing that. But right now, we don't have the infrastructure, just like Rob was saying. We can't take our plastic packaging back, do something right with it, reuse it, because we can't afford it. We will not be able to sell our stuff to PetSmart. Sorry, independent pet here. But because the infrastructure isn't there to do it. So we need the recycling people to remind everybody how important recycling is and that sort of thing. So, okay, I'm done. Sorry.
All right, unless there's another brand that wants to respond, I think I'm going to respond a little bit too. Okay, so the need for direction, which is what I said, if I had my magic wand, I would love for everybody to decide on some solutions so that we could support the R&D that so many of the suppliers in the room are ready to do. And so I mentioned that we're coming back together with our advisory board to strategically discuss how to do this well. And we are literally having a 3-hour facilitated session around what are we going to do in this packaging space and how can we support the members that are part of our organization. And that includes suppliers. So I would like to get back to you with an answer on that question. All right. So I mentioned before that Spencer Williams of West Paw was an original founder of the organization and has been my co-pilot as the chair of our board for the last 3 years and is leaving in just 1 month. And so I invited him to say a few words, and then we'll come back together so I can give you a final assignment, and then we will depart for the day. So first, Spencer.
Thank you, Caitlin. Well, you made it. I mean, this is the core group here. I mean, Friday afternoon, it's sunny, and everybody's still sitting here, notebooks in hand, inspired, maybe a little overwhelmed here and there. I love being here, and I love the energy in this room. I also love it when Ted gets on a riff. It's pretty fun, Ted. Thank you. Everybody in this space can do that. You know, when hearing about the complementary energy around competitors in packaging, working together and asking this question is exactly why this organization exists. It's really amazing to me that we can come together and put 5 great competitors in a room and have an awesome conversation around where can we go as an industry and frankly as a society. It's empowering to think that we can bring change. And this industry is big enough that we can have monumental change. You know, Chris often said, if I had a, how do you say it, Chris? If I had a lever that's big enough, I know.
Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world.
And so having that inspiration about moving the world is what we're really here to do today. And so I really challenge you to think about, what do you bring back from today? We're going to work on that just a little bit. There's so much we can do together and so much we can learn. One thing that I've noticed is, as a small manufacturer who's been around for 23 years, we've made a lot of mistakes. We've had some great successes, and we've tried lots of things, but we were often just this one small little island trying something that was different. And as we work together as larger companies, or as larger organizations coming together, we have that image of that force on that lever, right? So that's what I want you to take away today. And just a little bit about the PSC board. I want to talk about, you know, we have some amazing talent on that board. It's been really fun to work with Chris and Caitlin and the entire board to create a functioning board, one that I would argue the pet industry has never seen before in my 23 years. It's independent. It has term limits, which is why I'm leaving. It encourages fresh ideas coming in. And what we did is we set up 3-year terms, 2 terms maximum, and so they're going to kick me out the door next month. And I get one sort of past year as past chair, is what Caitlin has said, where I'll maybe sneak into a few meetings here and there. We need people like you stepping forward and saying, I'd love to help drive this organization forward. Maybe people in your network. So reach out to me, Caitlin. Marty's taking over as chair next year. Any of the board members here, if you're interested or know somebody, because we need this kind of energy to further the impact that we're going to have. It's been my pleasure to be a part of this startup. It's something that I just love, and I love being a part of this room. So thank you for giving me the time to share this with you today. So if you have some energy today around this sustainability movement and the impact and the urgency, as Chris was mentioning, that we can do today, I'd encourage you to think about how to help PSC toward the end of this year. One thing I want you to think about, there's some note cards on your tables, maybe a pen. You might think, if you have budgetary control, could you possibly make a year-end contribution to the Pet Sustainability Coalition? Is that something that you could do to help us further this impact? If you don't have budgetary control, is there somebody on your team that you could talk to when you get back and ask that question of, hey, can we put a little bit of money this way? This is a nonprofit that's making real change happen, and they are 100% funded from this industry and membership. So that's something I would challenge you guys to think of as we wrap up here for the next few minutes. Also, if you're not a member, we would love to have you join. Every membership dollar helps. Can you imagine the risk of a startup in business in their first year and how easy it is to fail? In their first 5 years and how easy it is to fail? This is a nonprofit that is now entering its 7th year that has been financially independent and stable all along. Miraculous, isn't it? So we couldn't do that without our amazing membership. So I just encourage you to think about that. Help us out. We'd really appreciate it. And I really want you to know how much I appreciate everybody coming here and being so transparent and sharing so collaboratively. That's what we want in this, and I really think you've done a great job today. So thank you very much for your time. And remember, as Dave Carter said, as this organization grows and we scale and create more impact, we don't have to agree on 100% of everything. Let's agree on most things to get some direction and work hard together. That's how we move in industry and change the world. Thank you.